day, I tried to find, let's say, I'm using examples, perhaps some new patterns for you that can be useful for you in your games, especially some things that you would not be able to find without time on your clock. But if you have seen the pattern once during our classes, then you will be able to play it instantly during your games. So the goal is to give you good automatism in endgames. We're not going to do theoretical endgames, otherwise I would just open Dvoretsky's manual and just read it. We're going to do positions that I found by myself. So this first example, so it's black to play and draw. So when you think you have the solution, just write it to me in the chat privately, of course, so that others do not get spoiled. And generally, the solution is not just one move. You have to give me the whole line. Okay, some of you are sending me the first move, but I need at least one more. Yes, already 2 correct answers. No, Vihan, this is not correct. I mean, I'm not, after a rook a4 check, I'm not going to f3 because I don't want you to continue giving checks. I'm going to try to hide to h4. So just for the story, a friend of mine who is a grandmaster, French grandmaster, is known to be very good at rook and games, although he's my age, is even a bit younger, but he's a very good rook and games player. And once we were having dinner and I just gave him this position. He didn't know this pattern. And the whole dinner, he was like shaking his head, like, how is it possible? He couldn't find the solution. And 1 week later, I showed the same position in a masterclass and somebody rated 1500 found the solution after just a few seconds. So that's just a small story. Okay, I need more than the first move, Austin. Okay, Vihan, that's correct. Nah, Greg, I think you're a little better than that. So I don't have the full name. Seper, excuse me if I don't pronounce it well, but that's correct. Seper, okay. It's a new air company. So who needs extra time? So I'm gonna give the solution now, or does anyone want extra time? If nobody says anything in the next few seconds, I'm gonna show the solution. So actually in that game, so actually Zoom is hiding it to me, but as I remember it was Kempitsky with white and with black some Greek name, which you can probably read on top like Spiropoulos or something like this. Black just resigned here. He thought, okay, my pawn is lost because after rook a4 check, king g3, if king g5, then of course white just checks and wins the pawn. So black thought the position is hopeless, but here there is this very counterintuitive move, rook a6, which actually sort of defends the h6 pawn. If white takes it, then king g5. Rook takes rook is a stalemate. Rook g6 check is a drawn pawn endgame. And otherwise, I'm going to check you and take this pawn, and it will be an easy draw as well. And if white tries to go king h4, now king e5, and it's quite easy. Anytime white plays g5, you can just check. Rook G7 is not a threat. You can just wait because here you can even take and the pawn and game is just a draw. So if you just know this idea, Rook A6, then there is nothing to be done for white. Okay, white to play and draw. Okay, Alexander, if that's, I hope that's your correct name. Yes, Alexander. Okay, then I will go to wait, if you do that, there is a problem. I will just go king h2, and if you repeat the check, then king g1, then g2, and slowly I'm gonna make progress. King f3 is a bear, I'm not sure, then I will just push my pawn. No, behind it could be that your solution is correct. Wait, maybe I got your line wrong. Okay. But you told me king f3, so there is no mate. Yes, Austin, this is correct. I'm not sure, Vian. I'm trying to. I mean, if I was not sharing my screen, I would check with an engine. Because I'm not sure about the second move. You can. Yes, because you can choose the other square instead. If you see what I mean. And that's the solution, but it could be that your move works as well. No, it could be that actually your move was correct. I don't see the solution myself. I normally remember them, but it could be that your move is correct. Actually, I think I'm pretty sure your move is correct. So that means, Austin, you need a small improvement in your line. Salvagna, well, then I'm gonna play king h2, and if you check me again on h4, then I will go to g1 and push my pawn. And at some point, the checks will stop. The first move, king g5, set pair, I will just play g2, I guess. Rio, I think you didn't mean that as a first move. Because twice you're putting a piece on the same square on the first and second move. So actually rook h3, check king g1, rook a4 is not a legal move. Because your rook can't go from h3 to a4. So something is still wrong in your line. So you guys found the correct idea, but we'll have to double check one thing. So I normally never switch on the engine, but I'm going to do this for this time. So rook a3 is the only move, otherwise black is just making progress. King h2, you can check me, but I'm making progress, pushing my pawn. And actually your king is very misplaced as well. For example, if you go, let's say, king g4, king h2, then you don't have a check. If you go to g5, I can play here. And then, for example, go around with my king. And at some point the checks will stop. So rook a3 you need to play. And now, yes, you were correct from the start. Who was it? Vihan, so my apologies. Indeed, king g4 has to be played and not king h4, because king h4 loses to to g2 or rook h8 first, and then check, covering the h file, and this is just a win for black. So king g4 is mandatory so that there is no check on h8. And now there is no way to make progress for black. In rook g8, you don't care, you just go to the f file. You never allow a check on the h file. And the black king cannot hide anymore because you're after king h2, you can just queen and then you're going to collect the queen back. So as a result, after check king f4, any king move is a draw, and rook a8 is just a repetition, just king g4 back, or maybe king g3 even then, and it's a draw. Okay, this one is a bit more difficult. Black to play and draw. Obviously, we are happy if we get rook versus rook and bishop. Even if in a practical game, you would still have to fight a little bit to get half a point. Yeah, but Alexander, then I would put my king somewhere else, just not to allow f6. Obviously, f6, I want to be able to play g6 anytime. Okay, if you bet rook c7 check, Alexander, I may go king b3 and collect the pawn with my king. Also, feel free to correct me if I mispronounce somebody's name. Okay. Well, you cannot sit forever, Austin, because I'll bring my king to. If you just wait with your rook on g2, then I will play king c3, bishop c2, and capture on b2 with the king, and then slowly bring my king to the king side. You don't have a fortress there. You're gonna lose your b2 pawn. So here you need something more direct. I think rook e2 was played in the game, by the way. So only Vihan has got the solution so far. Greg, should I actually unmute somebody to give us a solution of every puzzle? I mean, at the end of every puzzle. I remember we were doing that last time. So the only chance here for black to make a draw is to manage to create some kind of miscoordination in the black pieces, in the white pieces, even if very temporary, so that at some point white won't be able to protect everything. Okay, so since two of you guys found a solution, should I give the first move to others, or is somebody against it and wants more time? Savanya, that's correct. So, okay, for others, the first move is rook to e1. Then white takes on b2. Now I'm going to give you 1 or 2 more minutes. Alexander, as I said, the rook e2 was played in the game, but white just played king c3, then bishop c2, king takes b2. No, Austin, this is not a fortress. White is going to bring his king to the king side slowly. Here the solution is a very concrete draw. I mean, draw. You get rook versus rook and bishop, but it's a very concrete variation, not a fortress. Okay, Sepper, that's correct. Okay, 4 of you guys found the solution, so if nobody is against it, yes, Rio, you probably have the solution as well then. So, yes. I hadn't seen your first message. Okay, so rook e1, rook takes b2, rook g1, rook b5, and now you've got only one move to do that. before the white bishop moves somewhere, you create a miscoordination in the white pieces playing f5. And white is unable to protect everything. If he takes on f5 with a bishop, then the pawn is lost. If he takes with a rook, then the bishop is lost. So that means it will be rook versus rook and bishop. Of course, that's very difficult to see, especially in a practical game. And that was missed. So in the game, this was played, as I said. Then few more moves and the b2 pawn was lost. And well, my tips for, so I get a question from Austin, my tips to defend rook versus rook and bishop. Well, I mean, you need to know, you need to know different defensive ideas. Of course, the danger comes when your king is pushed to the 8th rank or to the A or H file. Then you need to know the 7th rank defense and a few other key positions. That's something we can talk about another time. But there are a few, I mean, basically, actually there is only one, I mean, apart from extremely concrete positions, there is only one position that is winning for white when the black king is on the 8th rank and the attacking side has the 7th rank from himself. This is basically the only case that the only position that is lost for black, and there are different ways to prevent it. Perhaps you can train yourself using, for example, an Alimov table basis, but it's difficult to give tips just like that. But I could show some positions next time. So wait, first we're gonna do this one. Black to play and draw. So somebody just joined. So let me repeat that it's black to play and draw. This is a long variation, so try to give as many moves as possible. This is not the most fun example, so we're not gonna spend ages on it. No, that's not correct, Austin. If you play rook g1, king e2, king takes c2, then I'm probably not gonna push h4 right away. I'm probably gonna play rook c8 check to really get your king as far as possible. And then king f3, and your king is cut by 5 columns, which is far too much. So here there is anyway only one way for black to play and have chances to save the game. Otherwise, it's just game over. So in the game, my opponent played these moves without really knowing whether the position was a draw or a win for me, but he had to play these moves. I mean, white has a very clear plan to push the h pawn and it's game over. Correct, Austin. If the white king can run to b2, for example, then there is no way the position can be drawn. But if you bring your king to f6, I push my pawn to h6, and then I push my c pawn, or I first bring my king c1, king b2, king b3, and I start pushing my pawn. Well, Narayan, if rook g7, h4, or rook d7, maybe I can just go king c1 and then play rook c8 check on the next move. Rio, if you play rook h2, I'll play h4. So you need to do something up front. If you play rook h2, I will just play h4. So Sepper, I would need to continue the wall continuation. So that's correct, Sepper. The only defense for black here is to check and play rook h2. That's the only way to continue playing. Because black needs to do something, otherwise white is just pushing his h pawn. This is not working because, well, rook c8 should be winning as well, but also h4. The king is just too far. I mean, black doesn't manage to bring his king back to the game in time. So I just push my pawn and then try to give a check. That is not working. But rook d2 and rook h2 is asking white a clear question. I mean, this pawn is now hanging, and white has two critical moves, which are king f1 and h4. In the game, I played h4, which made my opponent's life quite easy. It just took on c2, and here it was simply in time. Well, actually, no. This is a toughest defense in the game. Actually, I did see that h4 was a draw, and because we were both in time trouble, then I thought, okay, if h4 is a draw, I'm gonna try the other option. I played king f1, but now, okay, if king takes c2, now I win because I play king g1 and I push my pawn, and you're not in time simply to hide you're not in time to come back with your king. Here I can trade rooks, and if you do something else, I will just for example, if you move your rook, I'm gonna bring my king, and your king is just too far away. I'm gonna bring my pawn and my king, and you are always under threat of a check, so you will have to cover your king somehow. And this is just lost. But my opponent after king f1 played king d4, and then it was very easy for him because he wants to take on c2 with the rook, and after king d1 he just checks, and here comes to c3. And this is just a repetition. King b1, now rook h1, king takes c2, and now the white king is too far away. So king d4 was played in the game, and am I mixing the lines? Wait. No, it's after king f1 that I was showing king f1. King takes c2 is wrong because I just push, as I was saying. But king d4 is just an easy draw because I can't defend my... Yeah, excuse me, I was showing the... I'm getting tired. Now the c2 pawn cannot be defended, only with a rook, but then I would lose my h pawn. I gave a check, but now it was simply too late. There is nothing to be done against rook takes c2, and the black king will be in time to stop my h pawn. So king f1 was a very bad practical decision because after king d4, the game was drawn. King f1, I would have given my opponent a choice to go wrong because king takes c2 is very frightening. I mean, I go king g1 and I push my pawns. I push my pawn, and well, black has to be very careful. What am I saying? Yes. Sorry, h4, I would give my opponent a chance to go wrong because king takes c2 is a move that you might be very afraid to play because my pawn is running fast, and it might look like you won't be able to face h7 and then check with my rook followed by h8 queen. But black is actually in time to make a draw here, creating a mating straight on h1, king f1, and now, for example, with you can do the same with king f3, but this is the most precise. Just bring the rook here and then cover the checks. And now you just have to bring your king to g6, and there is no check for white. And this is a draw. But in type trouble, that's not very easy to see. King f3 would also work with the same idea, basically, to put the rook here. If the rook moves, then there is rook h6, and otherwise black is just bringing his king back to g6. And yeah, I would have given after h4, that would give black a chance to go wrong with king d4, which might be tempting with the same idea to go rook takes c2, which of course is not possible right away because of rook c8 check. But if king d4 now, I just go back to d1. And if, okay, king c3, then you get the same position, a tempo down. So I just start pushing my pawn I play h5. You actually lost 2 tempi. Check, king here, king c3. This might look like a draw at first, but I just go back to d1 and I won 1 tempo. We're back to the original position, but my pawn went from h3 to h4. And this makes a big difference because all these lines we were seeing black was holding just by 1 tempo. So black cannot afford to lose 1 tempo in this position. But king c2 would be a draw. Any question on this one? This one was a bit more complex, a bit more technical. Okay, no questions. So which one am I going to give you now? Okay, let's do a calculation training. So here, okay, you're seeing the lines now. White should have played passive, just played king d4, bring the king here, push the pawn, and white actually has a fortress here. If the knight moves somewhere, then just king c6, or if knight f6, king e6. And if black moves his h pawn, then just king e5, and you go take the h pawn, and it's a draw. Instead, in the game, white played king c2, c6, which looks very interesting as well. h5, c5, h4, king d6, h3. This is probably what white calculated in the game. That would be a very bad idea for black, who might be, well, black is still holding to a draw with this knight e8 move, and after king b6, then the king has to go back, and it's not queen with check. Otherwise, c7 and black would be lost. But anyway, knight e8 is a blunder. h3 is very critical, and now c6 is not dangerous because you just push, and c7 you catch the pawn. But king e6 is a very critical move. So I would like you to assess the position after king e6. Do you think the position is a draw? Of course, white wants to provoke knight g8 and then play c6 and then c7 and so on. Is this position a draw or is it a win for black? So try to calculate as far as possible. Can help you a bit. King e6, knight g8 is forced. Now c6. And how can black win this position? So let's see the line. King b6 has to be played because this is just a draw. There is no way for black to prevent c8 queen, only knight e7, but then I will play g8 queen. So king b6 has to be played, king d6, h2, c7. We still can't prevent c8 queen, but at least white is not queening with check. And now a very important move to see is queen h2 check. And the white king doesn't have any square here. If it goes here or there will be queen h3 check. For example, here, queen h3, queen d8, queen h4, and then queen e7 mate. And the last trick would be king d5, knight e7 check, king e6. And now you've got to be careful if you take the queen after g8, queen, queen a2 check, king d7, the position is a draw because this is a stalemate. So this is the last trick to avoid. But here you can just play queen h3 check and collect the queen. And this is an easy win for black. So let's finish here for today. I hope you enjoyed the session.